students, welcome to the program. The topic chosen for the program is Adjustment Problems of Students with Learning Disabilities. The objectives set for the program are to understand the meaning of learning disabilities, to understand the signs and symptoms of learning disabilities, to be familiar with the various types of learning disabilities, to understand the meaning of adjustment, to be familiar with the adjustment problems of children with learning disabilities, and lastly, we will understand some of the educational interventions for the same. So let's first discuss learning disability. Learning disability is a hidden disability and is not readily observable in most situations. Most definitions of learning disability consider it as a disorder with discrepancy between mental capacity for learning and actual level of functioning. However, there are other subtle aspects of this disability which are often overlooked. One such aspect is that of adjustment of the learning disabled. According to Individuals with Disability Education Act, IDEA 2004, specific learning disability means a disorder in one or more of the basic psychological process involved in understanding or in using language, spoken or written, which may manifest itself in an imperfect ability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, or to do mathematical calculations. The term does not include children who have learning problems, which are primarily due to visual, learning or motor handicaps of mental retardation of emotional disturbance or environmental, cultural or economic disadvantages. People with learning disability have average to above average intelligence. In fact, studies indicated that as many as 33% of the students with learning disabilities are gifted. With proper recognition, intervention, and lots of hard work, children and adults with learning disabilities can learn and succeed. It's interesting to note that many successful people such as Walt Disney, Alexander Graham Bell, and Winston Churchill all had learning disabilities. Now let's have a look over the signs and symptoms of learning disabilities and disorders. Learning disabilities look very different from one child to another. One child may struggle with reading and spelling, while another loves books but can't understand maths. Still another child may have difficulty understanding what others are saying or communicating out loud. The problems are very different, but they are all learning disorders. It's not always easy to identify learning disabilities because of the wide variation. There is no single symptom or profile that we can look to as proof of a problem. However, some warning signs are more common than others at different ages. If we are aware of what they are, we will be able to catch a learning disorder early and quickly, take steps to get out our child health. The checklists of some common red flags for learning disorders include the signs and symptoms of learning disabilities in preschool age. Preschool age children have problems in pronouncing words, trouble finding the right word, difficulty in rhyming, trouble learning the alphabet, numbers, colors, shapes, days of the week, difficulty following directions or learning routines, difficulty controlling crayons, pencil, and scissors, or coloring within the lines, trouble with buttons, zippers, snaps, learning to tie shoes. Then signs and symptoms of learning disability in the age group of 5 to 9 years. Children in the age of 5 to 9 have problems in learning the connection between letters and sounds, unable to blend sounds to make words, confuses basic words while reading, slow to learn new skills, consistently misspells words and makes frequent errors, trouble learning basic maths concepts, difficulty telling time and remembering sequences. Then the signs and symptoms of learning disabilities in the age group of 10 to 13. Children in the age of 10 to 13 have problems in reading, comprehension or math skills, trouble with open-ended test questions and word problems, dislikes reading and writing, avoids reading aloud, poor handwriting, poor organizational skills like bedroom, homework, desk is messy and disorganized, trouble following classroom discussions and expressing thoughts aloud, spells the same word differently in a single document. Now let's have a look over the various types of learning disabilities. Learning disabilities can be categorized either by the type of information processing that is affected or by the specific difficulty caused by a processing deficit. Learning disabilities usually fall within 4 broad categories: spoken language, listening and speaking; written language, reading, writing and spelling; arithmetic calculations and concepts; then reasoning, organization and integration of ideas and thoughts. Learning disabilities can be divided into 3 broad categories: developmental speech and language disorders, academic skill disorders and coordination disorders. In particular, psychology professionals study these 7 learning disabilities. Underneath the learning disability umbrella, many disabilities are categorized as one of the 3 types: dyslexia, dysgraphia and dyscalculia. Dyslexia is a language processing disorder that impacts reading, writing and comprehension. Dyslexics may exhibit difficulty decoding words or with phonic awareness, identifying individual sounds within words. Dyslexia often goes undiagnosed for many years and often results in troubles with reading grammar, reading comprehension and other language skills. Those with dysgraphia have trouble converting their thoughts into writing or drawing. Poor handwriting is a hallmark of dysgraphia, but is far from the only symptom. Sufferers struggle to translate their thoughts into writing, whether in spelling, grammar, vocabulary, critical thinking, or memory. Individuals with dysgraphia may exhibit difficulty with letter spacing, poor motor planning, and spatial awareness, and trouble thinking and writing simultaneously. Dyscalculia encompasses learning disabilities related to mathematical calculation. Individuals with dyscalculia struggle with maths concepts, numbers, and reasoning, sometimes referred to as having math dyslexia. Individuals might have a difficulty reading clocks to tell time, counting money, identifying patterns, remembering maths facts, and solving mental math. In auditory processing disorder, APD, patients have difficulty processing sounds. Individuals with APD may confuse the order of sounds or be unable to filter different sounds, like a teacher's voice versus the background noise. In APD, the brain misinterprets the information received and processed from the air. A language processing disorder arises when an individual has specific challenge in processing spoken language, impacting both receptive and expressive language. According to the Learning Disability Association of America, in language processing disorder, there is difficulty attaching meaning to sound groups that form words, sentences, and stories. While it may sound like non-verbal learning disabilities relate to an individual's inability to speak, it actually refers to difficulties in decoding non-verbal behaviors or social cues. Sufferers struggle with understanding body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice, or non-verbal aspects of communication. Individuals with visual perceptual or visual motor deficit exhibit poor hand-eye coordination, often lose their place when reading, and have difficulty with pencil, crayon, glue, scissor, and other fine motor activities. They may also confuse similar looking letters, have trouble navigating their surroundings, or demonstrate unusual eye activity when reading or completing assignment. The Learning Disabilities Association of America and many other mental health practitioners regard the 7 aforementioned disorders as specific learning disabilities. They recognize autism spectrum disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder as related disorders that impact learning, though not specific learning disorders. When psychology professionals understand the neurodiversity and learning differences of their patients, they become more inclusive, empathetic, and effective contributors to the population they serve. Now, dear students, let's understand what we mean by the term adjustment. According to Encyclopedia of Mental Disorder, 2013, an adjustment disorder is a type of mental disorder resulting from maladaptive or unhealthy responses to stressful or psychologically distressing life events. This low level of adaptation then leads to the development of emotional or behavioral symptoms. Margetts in 2002 explains adjustment as the interaction of the child's personal characteristics and their experiences that ultimately determines, however, a toddler adjusts to high school. According to Coleman, James in 1963, adjustment is the outcome of the individual's attempt to deal with the stress and meet his needs. Also, his efforts to maintain harmonious relationship with the environment. According to Schaffer in 1961, adjustment is the process by which living organisms maintain a balance between his needs and the circumstances that influence the satisfaction of these needs. According to Carter v. Good in 1959, adjustment is the process of finding and adopting modes of behavior suitable to the environment or the change in the environment. Some important points that make us understand that how much problems are faced by the children with learning disabilities in respect to their adjustment include locus of control and adjustment. The term locus of control refers to a person's perception of where rewards are derived in his or her environment. Some people believe that they are solely responsible for the rewards or reinforcements that their environment provides for them. These people are referred to as internals because their rewards are perceived to be under their internal control. People who believe their rewards are due more to luck, chance, fate, or other significant people in their lives are referred to as externals. Review of the related literature indicated that learning disabled children, like other groups of the children who have experienced failures, are more likely to exhibit an external locus of control than their normally achieving peers. Significant relationship was observed between locus of control and both social, personal, and emotional adjustment of children. Then comes the behavioral issues and adjustment. A child with learning disability appears to exhibit emotional problems due to adjustment difficulties resulting from academic failures. Deficits in social behavior or social skills found to exist at significantly high rates among children with learning disabilities, making it difficult to adjust. In general, social skill deficits include difficulties in interacting with people in an appropriate fashion. For example, lack of knowledge of how to greet people, how to make friends, and how to engage in playground games, or failure to use knowledge of such skills in these situations. Next is the academic achievement, self-concept, and adjustment. Children with learning disabilities may have trouble in expressing their feelings, calming themselves down, and reading non-verbal cues from others. This can lead to difficulty in the classroom and with their peers. Many areas of life are affected, including the role of the person with the learning disability in their family, relationship with friends, non-academic functioning such as sports or dancing, self-esteem, and self-confidence to handle daily situations. Learning disabilities and their accompanying academic challenge can lead to how academic achievement and behavioral problems leading to maladjustment in home as well as in schools. Next is the social emotional difficulties and adjustment. The social and emotional skills are an area where one can have a huge impact as a parent. For all children, but especially those with learning disabilities, social and emotional skills are the most consistent indicators of success, overweighing everything else, including academic factors. Academic challenge may lead to low self-esteem, withdrawal, and behavior problems. The consequences of the learning disabilities are rarely confined to school or work. All areas of life are affected, including adjustment in social and emotional areas as well. Next is the communication and adjustment. Frustration might arise out of the student's level of performance compared to their level of actual ability. Lack of understanding of why they struggle to perform the task, or sometimes the inability to communicate in an appropriate way. They might feel angry, sad, lonely, frustrated, or hopeless as a result of focusing on their difficulties and not being able to express that. So we need a critical need for effective teaching. Although learning disabilities can't be overcome in the sense of being cured, persons with learning disabilities can learn strategies that greatly diminish their disabilities. Negative impact perhaps as exemplified by the renowned individuals discussed earlier. And great strides have been made in developing instructional methods. First, the primary prevention. Primary prevention efforts are usually aimed at promoting desirable future outcomes in virtually all of the population of individuals who may or may not develop the problem or disorder. For example, in hopes of preventing disease and early death, physicians encourage people to lead healthy lifestyle, to eat healthy foods, exercise, avoid risky behaviors such as smoking, wear seat belts, and so forth. Primary prevention does not always work. However, sometimes the preventive measures are not applied faithfully or sufficiently. Or sometimes some people respond to the preventive measures, but others are disposed to the conditions and they will get it, no matter what is done. This does not mean that we should not attempt primary prevention efforts, as they may still keep many from suffering the consequences of the condition. Then coming to the secondary prevention. Catch it early and stop it right away. Secondary prevention efforts focus on early detection of problem and then on stopping or slowing the progress of the condition. Like physicians believe that if they catch the cancer early, they can treat it and prevent subsequent problems. In education, schools often test students with simple screening measures to identify those learners who may have problems. Then the tertiary prevention. Treat it aggressively and minimize the consequences. Tertiary prevention aims to reduce or stop an existing problem or condition from getting worse. Tertiary prevention is equivalent to treatment or intervention. When students have learning disabilities, they already have clearly established problems. If they have been in schools providing primary or secondary preventions or both, they probably have very serious problems. They must receive instructions that correct for the imbalance in their skills and that uses the most effective intervention methods available. So dear students, let's have a look over the educational implications we can go through. Some of the educational implications for emotional, social, and educational adjustment among learning disabled students include to educate them in regular classes with part-time special service, to give them free environment for work and play, to use devices and equipments. Those are helpful in fostering interest in learning, to help them interact with their peers and other teachers. A quantum of education placement, including the regular education classrooms, must be available to all students with learning disabilities and must be flexible enough to meet their changing needs. Specialized instructional strategies, materials, and appropriate accommodation must be provided as needed. Because the educational, social, and emotional adjustment needs of the students with learning disabilities change over time, systematic and ongoing review of the students' progress and needs is essential to make appropriate adjustment in current educational programs and related services. Because learning depends on the quality of the program and services provided. Systematic and ongoing evaluation of the programs and their effectiveness in producing desired long-term outcomes is essential. Social acceptance has a significant impact upon self-esteem of the student with learning disabilities. Social acceptance of these students require the sensitivity of the entire school community. To ensure effective mainstreaming of the students with learning disabilities, the school must set the tone for a positive and accepting learning environment for all children. So dear students, we may conclude that students with undetected learning disabilities might demonstrate undesirable behavior for a variety of reasons. They might feel angry, sad, lonely, frustrated, or hopeless as a result of focusing on their difficulties. Frustration might arise out of the student's level of performance compared to their level of actual ability, lack of understanding of why they struggle to perform the task, or sometimes the inability to communicate in an appropriate way. Just as inclusion has its benefits, it also has its disadvantages. Students with disabilities tend to disrupt the classroom with behavior issues because they are not as cognitively developed as their peers. The teaching learning process is not as effective as it could be. It is difficult to serve the needs of every student who is normally in the regular educational class and with the special needs. The job becomes even more of a struggle for the teacher. Teachers are to treat special needs students differently based on standards and on their learning levels. Special needs students are deprived of a suitable education when they are taught at a mismatched level with students who are significantly above their level. Children with learning disabilities may have problems with academics, social, home, and emotional aspects. These problems they may overcome through attending special education classes and parental attention. There is a need for providing special attention to these children with learning disability and conduct awareness programs regarding learning disabilities and their common problems. Dear students, this was all about today's topic. I hope you understood it well and enjoyed the program. Thanks for watching.